welcome to Femme Parler Podcast, where we are unpacking opinions and changing destinations. I am your host, Shirley Altador, where each week we will chat about how to rise strong out of all types of obstacles that come with relationships. Through personal life experiences and discussions ranging from infidelity, trust, forgiveness, sex, heartbreak, self-love, and so much more. I am passionate and obsessed to provide guidance to every woman to create a better life. Let's dive in, pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. With me, your virtual girlfriend. Welcome back to another episode of Femme Parler Podcast. Today for story time, we have a special guest with us. We have Carine. Carine is a lifestyle guru, founder of Carine, helps women build authentic and holistic lifestyles through fashion, beauty, and wellness. Carine, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to pass you the mic so you can add on to the introduction and tell the listeners who you are.
Yeah, I am, as you said, a lifestyle guru, and I am passionate about helping women transform and embody themselves as we age through the various seasons of our life. And I use various ways of doing that, specifically through fashion, beauty, and wellness. I'm a licensed acupuncturist. I also am a spiritual coach, and I do many things over the past 12 years. I've learned many different things about health and holistic healing, and the most profound thing I've learned in terms of aging and living on the planet and being happy is the element of love and incorporating self-love in the healing process.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, as you know, the podcast is everyone sharing their story and how you got to where you are right now. So, again, you're going to continue and share with us a bit of your story that ended to have you doing what you're doing presently.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my story, of course, always is going to start from childhood, but it wasn't something I was cognizant of when I was a child. I just knew as a child my parents did the best that they could. I was first generation American, and they came from Africa, and they had a very difficult childhood. And I grew up feeling very unloved and unseen, and I just had a lot of depression growing up. And as I got older, the only thing I really wanted was love and to understand what that would mean and how I could be happy in my life. And I fell across Chinese medicine because I had a cyst on my ovaries, and then I decided to do acupuncture, and I decided to become a healer. And through that process of learning what that means to be a healer and what that means to help people, I started to then look at myself and understand my own healing journey. Because most people that are healers or help other people usually tend to do the work on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest transition through that whole moment, this was like over a span of years, is when I moved to California at the age of 25. And I was in acupuncture school. And this is where I started to learn what it means to be a loving human being. And I met mentors and teachers and a community of friends. I finished acupuncture school. I started a practice, and I've been searching on how to live a long, healthy life, how to be youthful and joyous, letting go of emotional pain, how to incorporate my style and all the things that I love, all the things that are important to me and important to my clients. And what ultimately brings me joy is to bring other people joy, and what that really means, and all the emotional stuff I had to go through to release. And I'm still a work in progress. There's always more that I could learn about myself, that I could let go of and heal and show up better for myself so I could show up better for the women that I serve.
Wonderful. Good to hear. So now I'm going to break up your story up a little bit because you gave us the small portion. So I'm going to dissect this story. You mentioned about a cyst on your ovary. Give us a little more information about that.
Yeah.
Did you have traumatic periods? What was going on as a child? And what really, other than the cyst, how did you pick acupuncture? What happened between, early childhood, teenage years? Because you went from childhood to 25. So I'm missing a whole bunch of pieces here.
There's so much that happened to me. So I'll give you the rundown of my period. So I got my period when I was 13.
Okay.
And from 13 to 15, it was okay, inconsequential. But from 15, It was extremely painful.
Mm.
I had level beyond 10 pain. I would throw up, migraines. I'd miss school. It was very, very upsetting. And it was like I didn't even know how I was going to continue on in my life having that level of pain. And that's when my mom took me to my first like holistic healer. I went to a Chinese medicine herbalist in Chinatown in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first sign of I could do something else other than taking the pill, because that was the only option that was given when I was 15.
Okay.
And my mom didn't want me to be on the pill anyway. And so for the other reasons why you take the pill. So in any case, so when I was 18, 20, I was trying to figure this out on my own. I became plant-based. I changed my diet. And from changing my diet from eating meat and eating dairy and all of these things, I became vegetarian, and that shifted my periods, and my periods improved. But I still had a lot of pain.
Gotcha.
Then at 25, I had a cyst. So my periods were still intense. They were not as intense as they were at 15, but at 25, I didn't miss days at work, but I was still taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen every few hours. Then I had a cyst, and the doctor was like, "You're going to need surgery." I was freaking out, so I decided to try acupuncture instead, because I was working at an acupuncture school.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I know herbs could help, so let me just try this. And after 2 months of taking herbs and getting consistent acupuncture twice a week, my cyst dissolved, and my menstrual cramps pretty much have never gotten that bad. It like went from a level like 8 to a 3. So for me, the fact that the cyst went away and the extreme menstrual pain went away, I was like, okay, this is like magical, and I want to study it, because for me, it felt like a miracle, because my pain was so bad that I was like having suicidal thoughts. It was like so intense that after acupuncture, I was like, oh my God, I could live. I could have my period for the next 20 odd years and not feel like I'm going to die every month. It was like amazing. And my period journey is pretty much why I'm a healer today, because it's been trying to uncover why I'm in pain every month. And so my period pain got better. And then I started acupuncture school, and I went into energy medicine, because acupuncture is a form of energy medicine. And I went further deeper into energy medicine to understand how the emotions affect the body. Then once I graduated, I learned a lot about spirituality. I learned about chakras, and I learned about what else is in the first and second chakra that could affect my menstrual cycles. And a lot of them have to do with family, tribe, community, which is a lot of stuff, a lot of things I had pain around. So I worked on healing that, did lots of energy clearing and a lot of emotional work, and my periods got better. And so every few years, my period pain will kind of come up as a theme for me to work on. Like I had pelvic pain, and then I started going to see a pelvic floor therapist. I started doing womb healing. I started doing vaginal steaming. I started doing all sorts of things, and that also improved my period. And then the last few years, I would say I'm 41 now. It was like my 38th year. I was still trying to figure out the last remnants of the pain, like what is still happening. And that part was the self-loathing part. So I figured out all the physical parts, all the emotional parts, most of the emotional parts, but then there was a self-loathing that was still having an effect on my periods and on all my physical and any other physical pain I was having. And that's where I really had to amp up my self-love, my ritual, my practices, really thinking about, do I truly love myself, or am I just saying that?
Gotcha.
Right? Because there was aspects of my pain I didn't address, like my being a woman, being black, like what does that mean? Being a dark-skinned black woman, like all the self-loathing that I had over the years, I thought I dealt with, but then there was still, when you're healing, there's always more, and there's always more, and there's always more. And so the last few years, I was dealing with that. And now that I'm out of that cycle, there's other aspects that I'm healing, right? But it's a journey. So I had to go through many different levels, which is why I'm so passionate about holistic health, because it's not just one thing. And also in my 35th year, I got sexually assaulted. So then that added another element to my healing. I had to deal with that. And during that time, I started hiding. I started hiding my clothes. I started wearing clothing that would hide my sexuality. my libido disappeared, I became like anti-sexual, and I just kind of moved away from that space.
Hmm.
So it took me a few years to get out of that and really heal my wound and really let go of that pain and the victimhood and all of the things that you go through when you're a survivor of something traumatic like that. So
Okay.
my pelvic region, like many women, has so much to unpack. And I've spent the last 21 years unpacking my own pelvic pain and menstrual pain. And that's really been a gateway for me to help other women.
This is great. I mean, it is literally a lifestyle for you. You became, you said, a
Yes.
vegetarian at 18, and you're still a vegetarian and has
20,
been
yeah.
since, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm vegan now,
Oh,
yeah.
you're vegan now, so you have
Hmm.
transitioned.
Hmm.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
definitely hard for me. I'm a pescatarian and I can't let go of my cheese and my dairy. I have total amount of respect for the
Yeah.
vegans, but
I hear you.
even as a Haitian, letting go of that meat was my mom was surprised by it because as a foreigner, that's what we're raised up on. You know, in Haiti, there's no
Right.
pescatarian, vegan, and vegetarian lifestyle. Here's your meal and you eat it, and if you don't, it's disrespectful. So,
Hmm.
be-
Yeah, I was lucky. My mom was a pescatarian, so it was a
oh,
lot
she
easier to
was.
transition because, and she still is. I mean, my mom's vegan now. My brothers are vegan. We all
You all have
became vegan, all on
transitioned.
our own.
Okay.
All on our own. Yeah, yeah.
So, were you born here or in Africa?
I was born in America. I was born in New York City, but my parents are from Guinea, and they migrated to America in 1980.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it.
Hmm.
Now, are you comfortable talking about the sexual assault?
Yeah, we could talk about that.
What is the story? Like, how did that happen? Was it at work? Was it coming home from work?
No, it was a quote unquote friend. You know, it's kind of one of those date rape situations
Hmm.
where I wasn't drinking, he was, and he wanted to go further than I wanted to. And he didn't, luckily, he didn't full on rape me, but it was super traumatic
Hmm.
in any case. It was very, and he was huge. It was just like this very paralyzing moment for me. And I think, it was the second time something like that happened to me. I think the first time I was in college.
Hmm.
And in college, I could mentally say I was drinking, X, Y, and Z. But this time I was sober. So I felt a lot of guilt, like self-guilt,
Hmm.
that I allowed this person into my life and into my home and thinking I trusted him. And
Hmm.
it was very shocking.
And this
And
was
also
just a
what was
friend,
shocking.
right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
a partner, a romantic partner
Mhm.
at all, just a
No.
friend you just hang out with.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that's a rude
Yeah.
awakening because, but they do say just like serial killers, it's usually always someone I feel that you are close to that ends up assaulting
Mhm.
you or hurting you. It's not always a
Yeah, we
stranger.
Yeah, he wasn't like a, close friend in my circle of friend, but he was an acquaintance and we
Hmm.
we had mutual friends and I've known him, we talked and we had pleasantries and so that's why it was always more shocking because it's like I know you. Like
Hmm.
it's like
How were things
yeah.
after?
He was so drunk that I don't think he realized the lines that he crossed. Because he
Hmm.
called me the next day, like, "Hey, what's up? How are you?" And I'm like, "Did you realize what happened to me last night?" He had no concept of what happened. That was what I found the most trippy.
Oh, okay. So he doesn't remember anything that happened. Did you have a conversation with him, or when he said, I don't
Mhm.
remember, did you just hang up the phone?
No, I told him exactly what happened. I was like, "This is what happened." I said no repeatedly. I was trying to get you off of me. He was like completely like dumbfounded. And I mean, he was kind of shocked. I think he was shocked at his own behavior.
Hmm.
And I never heard from him again.
After that, you never heard from him again. Do you feel suspicious the fact that you have not heard from him again?
No, because I kind of made it clear, like, F off, like I don't want to talk to you. And also, like, what is he gonna say?
Exactly. What is he going to
You
say?
know?
But I'm
Yeah. I
very
mean,
shocked that he doesn't remember anything.
I don't know if he was in denial or he legitimately didn't remember because he was really drunk. So you could have been blacked out,
I mean, very well, possibly, but that's
but
just a
still.
scary situation because even now, that happened at 34, not 14, not 24, but 34, where you
Hmm.
feel as though you're a little older and things like that. Or, and as
Hmm.
women, sometimes we have those thoughts that that's not going to happen to me.
Right.
I'm really in control of
Right.
my environment and what's going on. So after
Hmm.
that
Right.
situation, I'm not even going to talk about dating. How was it hanging out with friends?
Well, after that situation, I mean, luckily my life is pretty feminine. I have 95% women
Mm,
around me. I don't really have a lot of men, but when that happened, I really shut down.
okay.
I shut down. I was living in LA at the time, and I just pretty much worked and went home, worked and went home. I didn't hang out. I stopped dating. I stopped having sex. I just shut the door, and I started like hiding essentially. And
Mm,
that's where the fashion comes in, because I feel like when something happens to you and you want to start hiding, you start hiding how you look. And I'm very curvaceous, and so for me to wear muumuus is like an obvious thing, I suppose, especially since I don't really wear those anyway.
you weren't wearing like
But I
figure,
started wearing muumuus.
like your clothes
Yeah.
weren't like hugging
Mm-mm.
your figure. They were just
Fitted.
baggy.
Right. Usually I wear fitted clothing, and I was wearing muumuus and things that are kind of hiding. And I also didn't go places where there were men. Like I didn't go out. I didn't. I literally went to work, went to the supermarket, went home.
Gotcha.
That was it.
And that was it.
And that was it. And I did that for like a few years. And it took me a long time to start dating. I think the first time I tried to get intimate with a guy, I totally had a panic attack.
Hmm.
It took me a few times to like be okay. And then I got energy work and healing and, you know, talking to my teachers and coaches. Had a therapy session to
Hmm.
do like the eat the like I forget what it's called, but they have EMDR.
What
That's
is
what I
that?
got. Yeah, I did a few things. It's like an eye movement that helps with trauma.
Okay.
So it's something about the way you move your eyes, because there's something about the neurotransmitters, the pathways in your brain,
Hmm.
when you have a traumatic experience, that your brain waves are in a particular way, and so something about your eye movement can shift that.
Hmm.
So I believe I mean, people should look it up, but that's like the synopsis that I understood, and
Hmm.
that's what my friend that does that therapy did this to help me deal with the trauma of it. I took homeopathic remedies, I took flower essences, I did a lot of prayer, girl. I did a lot.
I
I
can
did a
only
lot to
imagine.
kind of I did a lot to reclaim my sexuality. It took me like 5 years. It
Were
took me
you a
5 years. It
sexual
took me till I
person
was 40.
before? Like you
Extremely,
weren't
yeah.
scared of
I was
sex
sexually
before?
open.
Hmm.
No, no.
Okay.
I was pretty. I had dated. I had sex. I had fun.
Okay.
But 35 to 40, I was shut down.
Shut down.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. Yeah,
Okay. So
it took a while.
recently now, I
And
guess
then and also,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, recently, pretty much the last year and a half, I'm like, oh, got my mojo back. But it took a while. It took a while, and I really, in that time frame, I worked with a lot of women that were molested.
Hmm.
I feel like part of that experience was to understand that, because so many of my clients were molested. I mean, it's shocking how many women are molested as children.
Hmm.
And a lot of my clients, because I deal with women, are get raped. I mean, are raped and all sorts of things. And when I talk about it with certain clients, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I got raped when I was 17." Like, yeah, but it's just like, and they say it in such a casual way. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, I just had to move on with it, and I just moved on with my life. I'm like, wow. And I know clients that have done it and have gotten molested, and they haven't been able to really heal from that until they're in their 50s, and then they're trying to tackle it.
Hmm.
It is one of the most devastating, painful things that can happen to anybody when we get violated in that way, male or female.
Hmm.
Um, it's just devastating, and it takes a lot of support to get over. Um, and it's such an integral part of who we are as humans, is connection and sexuality, and for that to be hampered, it really is it's a painful experience. Yeah.
And it definitely changes a bit of your trust. It definitely
Oh,
changed a bit
absolutely.
of your trust
Hmm.
because um, I had a violation. So I went into the military when I enlisted in the military at 17. So the person who enlisted me in the military was the person who violated me, who invited me
Mm-hmm.
out like, oh, this was right before I was going to go to basic training. And here I am thinking like, this is a professional, respectful person. There's nothing for me to worry about. That shit went out the goddamn window because he laced my drink. I saw an image of myself laying on the ground. I don't even know how the heck. I know I got home because he took me home, but I don't remember walking in the house or anything. I just remember waking up the next day on the bed. And it's a very
Wow.
foggy memory. I didn't talk about it for years. I didn't share it with anyone until literally I started the podcast. And, as
Mm-hmm.
people share their stories, I'll share bits and pieces of mine, letting them know, we're not alone and things happen to us at all different ages.
Yeah.
Now, the event was traumatic to me in a way where I felt like I let my guard down. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know how you said like you shut down? With me, I didn't shut down, but I was upset with myself because I let my guard down and I trusted someone that I probably shouldn't have trusted or shouldn't have hung out with. And I was just like, Shirley, this is what happens when you just go out with people you don't know. And I was more mad at myself. And now that I think about it, I'm like, wrong thinking, wrong thing to do. And here I am. I was violated, but yet I'm punishing myself for it. I'm mad at myself. And what am I mad at myself for? I didn't tell the person to put anything in my drink. Here I am thinking this is like a congratulatory celebration because I'm about to go to basic training. But no, you're an asshole. That's what it turned out to be. So I can
Yeah.
definitely understand it. It changes you and it makes you, you know, like I definitely look at people differently. Like now, I know for a fact there are certain people I just won't drink around at all whatsoever. So, it's little traumatic things and it's those little triggers that from the traumatic event that you experience that are like, okay, I'm not going to drink around you. I don't care who you are, what you're offering me. I don't want it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I totally
Mm-hmm.
understand. Now, I wanted to ask you about the
Yeah.
acupuncture. For those,
Yeah.
everyone should know what acupuncture is, but just give a little brief description of exactly what it is like of a day if you set an appointment and you're going to go get your acupuncture done. Because I know acupuncture is the needles, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So,
So acupuncture. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
am I telling you like I'm having a pain in my back, or how does this all start off? Like, how does a conversation happen with someone?
It depends on what the person's dealing with. So acupuncture deals with any and many things. It's a very general practice, and what acupuncture is most known for is for pain. And so how acupuncture works with pain is when you insert needles into the body creates an autoimmune response because it's something foreign. And metal is a conductor of heat and energy. And their acupuncture needles are placed in the fascia level, which is connective tissue that surrounds all our organs, muscles, nerves, and it's what connects different parts of the body is through the fascia. And so the acupuncture needles work along the fascial plane of the body, which means you can put a needle in the foot that can affect the whole side of the body going all the way to the head. And so acupuncture also relaxes the muscle. So you put a needle into a tight muscle, it then relaxes the muscle. My favorite part about acupuncture is that it calms the nervous system down. So by putting acupuncture needles in the body, the nervous system now starts to regulate. And most of us are dysregulated, have a dysregulated nervous system. I mean, if you're anxious, if you have depression, if you're dealing with trauma, stress, usually your nervous system has a dysregulation, and that can mean you deal with respiratory issues, insomnia, migraines, digestive issues. There's so many things that that are symptoms of having a dysregulated nervous system. So acupuncture can help balance that. And acupuncture also releases endorphins in the brain, which helps with pain, which is why it's useful for pain. And so, with anyone that's going through anything, I think my favorite things to treat acupuncture with is for pain. Of course, women issues, hormonals. It deals with hormonal imbalance. If you're pregnant, trying to get pregnant, acupuncture is a wonderful option for you. Migraines, it works wonders. Allergies, digestive stuff. I mean, it's pretty much anything. Pre and post surgery. It's great in conjunction with Western medicine, especially if you're taking drugs. Acupuncture can help your body detox. So if you're going through chemo, acupuncture is great to do at the same time because it could help your body release the chemicals of the chemo and having the negative side effects on the body. It's a great for preventative care. It keeps your body healthy. It keeps your immune system strong. I also do cosmetic acupuncture, which is like an actual facelift. So it helps with building up collagen in the face, relaxing the face muscle, helping with wrinkles and helping you have that youthful glow. So there's a lot of things that you can do with acupuncture.
You're putting needles in someone's
I see your
face?
face. You're like, what? Yeah. Yeah. It helps like the 11s, the lines on the forehead, smile lines, all of those things, the neck, all this like stuff can be all treated with acupuncture. Keep you looking young as young as you can. I mean, of course you still have to eat well, exercise, deal with all your emotional stuff too. But it's a nice add-on.
I never knew that. And
Yeah.
let me ask you, because I've never had acupuncture done. The needles really, truly
Yeah.
do not hurt? Don't lie, girl.
I don't say they don't hurt. I mean, they are needles, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
is a certain level of pinchiness that happens, but it's really like a mosquito bite. Like you don't really feel it. There are times where the acupuncture point can have more of an ouch effect, especially if the muscles are tight. So usually if you're coming to acupuncture for pain, then it's going to be more painful because your muscles are more tight, which creates more resistance, which then creates a little bit more of an ache. But overall, acupuncture is super relaxing. It's like not that painful. If you had a tattoo, it's not as painful as that. If you've gotten
Okay.
a vaccine shot, it's definitely not as painful as that.
Okay.
It literally is like, the most pain I would say with acupuncture is getting your eyebrows plucked.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And that's super. And if anyone got their bikini wax, then you definitely can get acupuncture. It's not that painful. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like, so for me, if you think about the degrees of what painful is, I think the needles kind of throw people off,
Mm-hmm.
but they're really thin. They're as thin as, they're a strand of hair. The tips are rounded, so they're not meant to puncture anything. Needles are usually painful because they're meant to take fluid into the body or take fluid out. In that case, the needle is sharp because it has to like puncture a vein. Acupuncture needles are not meant to do that. They're meant to glide through those kinds of situations. If you put a needle in, it's not going to puncture a vein. It doesn't. It's not possible. Then it's too soft. Maybe a capillary, but definitely not a vein and definitely not an artery.
All right. All right. I mean,
So you should
I'm gonna
try
believe
it.
you. You know what? It has been on my to-do list, but girl, the thought of
Hmm.
like needles in my back or on any, who does
It's
your
so relaxing.
acupuncture? You have someone you go to, or I guess you could do
Yeah.
certain parts of your body yourself.
I do my face myself, my legs, and my other parts, and then
Every
I
time I hear
have
the
my
face,
friends.
girl, whoo, you putting just
Yeah, it's a
you just in the mirror like, okay, I need to put 3 needles right
yeah.
here. Oh, girl.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh my
I mean, I
goodness.
practice on myself mostly to refine my technique, right? So if I'm
Okay.
working on myself, then it's like, okay, this is painful. How can I not make it painful? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
certain points. But in general, it's really not painful. It really isn't. I mean, I hate needles actually. Like when I when I was in the acupuncture school, they were like, "You should become an acupuncturist." I was like, "I hate needles. Like, why would I become an acupuncturist? That makes no sense." And when I got the treatment, because it was either get surgery, which I was way more afraid of those needles and that
Mm-hmm.
knife, I was like, "Well, I would rather get acupuncture because that's not as painful as surgery." And I was like, "This isn't that bad." And I mean, because I'm needle adverse, I'm very gentle. I use the smallest needles on the market. Like I'm a very gentle needler. And for those that are sensitive to needling, I would say look for a Japanese acupuncturist because Japanese style acupuncture is not as painful as Chinese.
Oh,
So that's a tip there.
this is okay. So there's a Chinese and a Japanese acupuncture
And
style
Korean.
and Korean.
Yeah. Yeah, there's three. I mean, there's three different main style. The main one is Chinese, and then there's Japanese style, and there's Korean style. Japanese is the least painful out of the three, and Japanese needles are the thinnest. So if you're gonna do acupuncture, I would definitely say look for a Japanese style acupuncturist, and they would be least pain. It won't be as painful, if painful at all.
Okay. This is something I learned. I didn't know that there were three different styles. And when you go to a place, you can ask what style that they do.
Right, and usually if they're Japanese or Korean, they're gonna say that on their website.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
If they're not, if they don't say that, you can probably assume they're Chinese.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
This is
So
insightful.
what I would say, I would Google Japanese acupuncturist in my area,
Mm-hmm.
and then go from there. And they're not as common as Chinese because it's a specialty, so it's something that you learn after school. So you have to, like, I started learning it when I was already in school because I don't like pain, and like I said, I don't like needles. So I was like, what's the least painful option?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I went. And so yeah, and I don't mess with Chinese acupuncturists usually unless they're super super gentle.
Okay.
I always look for Japanese style because I know they're gonna be it's not gonna be as painful, if painful at all.
Okay. So how does first of all, I've never when I think of acupuncture, I automatically think of the Asian community. I've of course never seen a black person do acupuncture. So again, this is a good thing
Yeah.
because I feel like there are certain
Yeah.
things we don't diverse ourselves into, if that makes any sense. Because as you said,
course,
there's
yeah.
three, this is definitely part of the Asian culture. So this is something maybe a black person wouldn't be interested in. The person who referred you to go into it, are they an acupuncturist? Is that correct?
Well, when I was in acupuncture school, when I was working at the school in New York, there was one black guy actually. This beautiful black man with dreads. He was like, "You should become an acupuncturist," and I was like, side eye, whatever. And but then when I had the cyst, then I started getting treatment, and everyone in that school was either Asian or white for the most part, and there was a few sprinkles of Latinas, but mostly it was white. And I decided to do it, and I came to San Francisco to go to school, and I was the only black girl in my school. And I think there was about 400 of us, or is that many? I don't know. Whatever the amount
That's
was. I was the
400
only one.
out of what though? Like 1,000?
No, out of 400 students, I was the only black person.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And there was Asians, yeah. There were Asians and whites and a few
Yeah.
Latinos. But yeah. But they were like white Latinos, you know.
I know what you mean.
But there was no Afro Latinos. So, and when I graduated, there was a black man that started, and I was like, "Here's the baton. You're the
Oh,
black
okay.
person now."
And he was the next black
But they were, I
person.
mean,
But it's scarce.
yeah, I think, yeah, there's more of us. There's a black acupuncture organization that just got started, I think,
Okay.
a couple of years ago. So if you go online, I think there's a website where all of us are in this one website. If you are particularly looking for a black acupuncturist, there's not a lot of us. No, absolutely not. I mean, there's not a lot of acupuncturists in general. I live in California. There's a lot of us here. But I mean, in the state of California, I mean, there's only like 15, 16,000 maybe.
Okay. And that's
It
small.
feels like a lot. Yeah, it feels like a lot. It feels like a lot for me because I'm in it, right? So I feel like they're everywhere. But in actuality, it's not that common. And then in that group, there's not that many people of color. And honestly, I became an acupuncturist simply. I think this is one of these divine things because I don't like needles. So it's not like I would have in my mind said, I'm going to be an acupuncturist when I grow up. It would have never even occurred to me to even do it or try it, right? But it was because the desperation of the cyst. And that's why I feel like my menstrual cycle is like my gift, my painful gift from God, because it was like, okay, like if I didn't have such a need to want to shift in a way that wasn't going to be surgery, I wouldn't have turned to acupuncture. Like I was ready to go to cooking school. I was on my way to becoming a personal chef.
Oh. Okay.
I was going to become a natural, helping people become macrobiotic and vegan, and I was going to like cook these natural foods and stuff. And so that was I was on my way to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
then this happened, and then I pivoted and decided to go to acupuncture school instead. And so over the years, I've just incorporated different aspects of healing, and that's why now I'm more focused on my new brand, Carina, which is going to be launching in April, which is going to launch in April because it's a lifestyle brand and it's
Mm-hmm.
specifically for women over 40 because I feel like we're not represented in the culture in terms of healing and
Mm-hmm.
aging.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you hit a certain age and it's like, okay,
Yep.
you're old. No one, no
No
one's
one
thinking
wants
about
you.
you no more.
I know.
Right. And it's like, and it didn't occur to me until I hit 40. I was like looking around like, what is happening to like, what? And not only that, is like we're aging in such a way that we're more youthful than ever. Our food, our diets are better. We have better nutrition. We're looking great. I mean, most 40-year-olds are not looking like the 40-year-olds in the 80s. Like I don't know if you saw that meme of what's her name, J Lo and Blanche from the Golden Girls.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Blanche from the Golden Girls was 52.
Yeah.
And then they showed J Lo, and I was like, this is crazy. But of course, J Lo has millions, so she has all the things that she can do to maintain her health, and that's her job and everything. But still, there's still elements of that I think are so important. So that's why, and the most important part of that is the love, because in my experience, that I changed my diet,
Mm-hmm.
I did a holistic health.
Mm-hmm.
I exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I did all of that, but the thing that was missing the most from me living my authentic self and really stepping into my power was truly 100% loving myself and accepting myself. And that's when my health really shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still continually to shift because I still am learning more and releasing more and becoming more compassionate to myself. And that's when I started to see the biggest changes. Like my face softened. It was crazy. I was like, "Oh my God, this is the fountain of youth. It's really like opening up your heart, being yourself, stepping into your power. That's really where the magic is." And of course, drinking your
Absolutely.
juices, your green juices and exercise and all that stuff too.
Exactly. Now,
Yeah.
before the assault at 34, because you mentioned about you had the go of self-loathing, what was really bothering you?
My self-loathing.
Yeah.
I think my biggest thing was the whole I'm a black woman was the
Mm.
biggest pain point. So, I got bullied as a kid. My parents are African, so I got bullied from black Americans
Mm-hmm.
because of the way I spoke and the way I looked and my hair. I used to wear lots of braids and extensions in the
Mm-hmm.
80s and 90s, which wasn't, I guess it wasn't super popular in New York, even though girls did it, but whatever, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I got called ugly. It was just like a mess. It was a hot mess. And then of course the culture, the society, it definitely I didn't feel like I was seen or represented in media or in television, movies. I mean, I've always felt like there was no place for me in the world. Like I'm not worthy to even be alive. Like I don't even know where I'm supposed to be and where am I supposed to land. And maybe I would have felt different. I'm sure I would have felt different had I grown up in a black country in Africa or the Caribbean where everyone looks like me on a certain level. But growing up in white spaces, it was definitely a challenge. And so that was part of the self-loathing, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling I mean, I was suicidally depressed until I was like 29.
Mm.
I tried to kill myself multiple times. It was bad. Um So yeah, it took I had to decide that I wanted to be alive and I wanted to have a purpose, and I had a purpose and I have a purpose. And I think once I started to see that my pain is bigger than myself and for
Mm-hmm.
me to heal myself, I could help to heal others, then that became my motivation to get myself out of my depression and out of my self-loathing. Just the thought that if I have the power to shift, then I could help shift others. And that really slowly over the years helped me get out of that darkness and also building my relationship to God and praying and
Mm-hmm.
understanding that my soul's here for a bigger purpose. And so again, it took a lot of prayer, friends, support. I think being of service is what really helped to heal me. is like helping others. Having my podcast, Infinite Love, being able to talk to people. I think stepping out of myself really helped me propel myself out of that space.
That's good. I mean, you're definitely right in that aspect. We're not far in age. I'm 39. You're 41. So we grew up pretty much around the same time frame. I think, do you make, or you don't make the millennial cutoff? You were born in 81?
81, I'm just barely in it.
I don't think you in it, right?
I'm like
Isn't
in
it at
both.
82?
I've seen different things. I've seen
Ah,
81, I've seen 82. So I feel like I'm in the cusp of both.
you're in the cuts. And, the thing is, we're the beginning millennials where,
Hmm.
we didn't grow up on the social media. We didn't grow
Thank
up
God.
on cell phones and stuff like that.
Hmm.
We progressed into that. Of course, my kids grew up on that stuff, but I did not. When I was their age, I didn't have any of that stuff. I didn't have a cell phone. They're 13 and 14, soon to be 14 and 15. They had cell phones since they were 10. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 17. Totally different era, especially with a woman of color, especially when I was young, being of a darker complexion. It wasn't it wasn't physically, my appearance wasn't something I was happy about. There were quite a few times I wish
Yeah.
I was of a lighter complexion. My mother is light, my father is dark. So I'm the blended in between of them and probably shifting toward more of my father. I'm not necessarily quite Carmel, it's the lighting. But my mother is of a lighter complexion. All her siblings are lighter complexion. And there are times I'd be like, why didn't I come out my mom's complexion? And this is a daughter looking at her mother thinking of this, because society has made us to believe that, if you're fair, you're pretty. But even in the Haitian population, because you made the comment of, if I was back home, I would probably be more accepted. But I even feel like as Haitians, sometimes we do it too. Fair skin is better. In Haiti, we say grimel. Grimel is like the lighter complexion person. And, they're so much prettier and so much more beautiful than the darker complexion, so it's hurtful.
Yeah.
Another thing that's
Yeah, it
hurtful
is.
to me that Black Americans always say is, you got a bad grade of hair. And when my
Hmm.
daughter was growing up, I used to always tell people, say, please don't say that. Please don't say that. And I ran into an issue when she was younger where she started not even loving her hair. She was comparing her hair texture to the white girls at school, because this is what we do to
Right.
each other. What the fuck is a bad grade of hair?
Mm.
Please help me understand what the fuck that is. How about you educate yourself and realize there are different textures that go from 1 to 4 in numbers? Just because I'm a number 4, you telling me my hair is shit? And you want me to find positivity in that? And then you telling a young child this. So what are they gonna take from that? We start this shit at such a young
Right.
age, and adults are saying it to children. Oh, your hair is tough, rough, bad, coarse, this and that. Can
Hmm.
we say more positive things to these young children about their hair texture? Educate them, let them know how to take care of the hair texture that they have. But no, we don't do that. We don't do that.
No. I mean, I have a similar background. My mom is like Beyonce color, and my dad's my complexion. And I came out looking like my dad.
Hmm.
And my mom wouldn't even let me be in the sun when I was little. And it was like so crazy to me that she was so like like I couldn't wear black. She's like, you're too dark to wear black. Like, you have to like wear bright colors. And
Mm.
I started wearing black when I was like, I don't know, in my 30s, because I was so like, I can't wear black. I'm too dark. Like it was like
Uh-huh.
this weird, crazy thing. And in terms of my hair, like it was, oh my God, my hair was always such a struggle. Like, oh my God, your hair, your hair, your hair. My mom put relaxing. I had a jerry curl. I mean, I had all this stuff on my hair. I remember when I decided to shave my hair at 20, I
Hmm.
was like, I'm done. Because I went to a college, I was all pretty much white. There was no hair salons. And I was going to hair salon every 2 weeks in New York.
Hmm.
There's no hair salons upstate New York. And
Hmm.
then my hair was falling out. It was this
Hmm.
whole big thing. And then I finally was like, I'm done with these chemicals, putting
Hmm.
these chemicals on my head. and I shaved it all off. And my mom literally lost her crap. She was like, "What?" Like she just couldn't even deal with it. She couldn't even deal with it. And I mean, it kind of coincided with me going natural, right? I cut my hair. I went vegetarian. I just was like, I went to this whole like quote unquote hippie thing without dressing like a hippie, but like that whole vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of stayed that way. I think I had one relapse somewhere in there. I put chemicals back in, but then I shaved it off. I
Mm.
was like, you know what? If God didn't want me to have this hair, I wouldn't have this hair. And it is
Exactly.
what it is. It is what it
Exactly.
is. And it took me a long time to figure out my hair. It pretty much took me up until like 2 years ago. I think everything happened when I turned 40. Like literally, my whole life just kind of fell in alignment. But I finally realized that I do have natural hair, but I have fine hair. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't have coarse hair. And that took me forever because I was watching all these natural videos and be like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? So I have to say, like, learning about your hair is a journey. And then once you figure it out, then it becomes a joy. Then it's like, oh, I love my hair. I can do this. I can do that. It took a long time for me to fall in love with my hair, to understand my hair, because there's no manuals out there. And I think it's gotten so much better now because when I cut off my hair 20 years ago, people were looking at me wild. They were like, what's are you gonna wear a wig? Like, what's happening? Like, people
Mm-hmm.
were just like in shock that I didn't have my hair wasn't relaxed. It was like, and this is coming from black people. This isn't even coming from white people. This is coming from our people. They were like looking at me like, so what's happening? Uh, yeah, and the colorism. I mean, I just think that the whole brainwashing, the white supremacy has really ingrained our society in such a deep way that it takes a lot of unpacking
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to love yourself, because part of loving yourself is unpacking that white supremacy bullshit that we've been ingrained with when we're young, that
Mm-hmm.
we're not beautiful, that we're not amazing, that we're not powerful, that something's wrong with our hair, with our skin, there's something wrong with us. And it takes a while to undo what society has really worked hard to ingrain it in us. And not only ingrain us in us, have the adults that look like us that are also brainwashed in part, that brainwashing onto their young. So it takes definitely strong families like you and people that stand up to that and say this is bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, being natural, I could definitely agree with you because I started off with where you are. And then I would take it down, take it down, take it down even lower. And this is my happy hair. Like, I love this. You can't pay me enough money, like, to grow my hair out to what you got. I ain't doing it. I will die bald.
It's easier.
I mean, granted, I'm not bald. I think I'm a number. Well, the back is pretty low. I think the back is pretty bald because it's a fade. But man, I appreciate this low cut I have, and I rock it with no problem. And it was hard
You
at
look
first. It
amazing
was
with it.
really hard at first. I ain't even gonna lie to you. It was extremely hard at first because this is not the norm. This
No,
is definitely not the
unless
norm. So I turn
unless
heads.
you have
People ask me
alopecia or something.
questions. Exactly. And you know, with
Hmm.
alopecia, you're not left with a choice. Like, this
Right,
is a choice for me. This is something I
right.
choose to do. Keep it low, low, low. Every 2 weeks, I make sure I shave it even lower. The minute it start growing, oh, a little too much hair. Time to take it off. So, yeah, this is definitely not the norm. But women like you, like myself, we're doing things that are not the norm, you know?
No, and it's what's sad to me is that how can growing the hair off your head not be the freaking norm? It's like, you know what I mean? I just feel like that's so weird to me. And it's all based on white supremacy because I
Mm-hmm.
look at these, they had the cover of Vogue in Europe. They had all these beautiful dark, dark, dark skin models,
Mm-hmm.
and they were trying to, support black women, I guess. And this is like, I don't know, the February or March edition of European Vogue, but all of them had wigs on,
Oh,
all
they
of them.
did.
And they all had wigs on. And I was like, why? And then they also made them super dark like black dark, like Sudanese dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, this is so fascinating to me that you have all these beautiful black models wearing European style clothing, but then you're going to put them in these wigs. Like, what are you trying to say?
They don't know any
Like, I
better.
just, it's just like so like, and that's the narrative. I mean, you see even the black celebrities, they all wear wigs, they all wear weaves. I mean, and they go natural when they're in between movies and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely not the norm to see. I mean, so I get so excited when I see black women in their natural state.
I do as well.
doing something, because I'm like, okay, here's an actual woman that's not out here trying to do what we all need to do. But we're still not there yet.
No, we're
I
not.
mean,
And it's hard. And you know, for those who like to wear their wigs and their weaves, more power to you guys. Your body is your agency. Your hair is your agency. You have right to do what
mhm,
you want. And it takes a different type of woman with a different type of courage to rock it.
mhm,
Of course, maintaining your natural hair is also not easy.
a lot of
Like you
work.
said, you're discovering your hair is thinner.
Mhm,
That's the same issue I had where my hair may look like it was coarse, but the minute I straightened it, it was thin.
mhm,
So it was like, what do I have left to work with? And it's another thing
mhm,
of listening to your body, paying attention to
mhm,
things, observing, like, okay, what works better with my hair? What are
mhm,
styles that are beneficial both for me and for my hair type? It's a lot. People
mhm.
don't want to do that. It's easier to throw the wig on and just get the flat iron and curl it, or get the relaxer and just straighten it. It's so much easier to do all that. So
Yeah,
before
absolutely,
exactly.
absolutely.
So before we go today, three top things. Number one, as a black woman, what is one thing that you want to share with black women in the acupuncture world that we do not know? Because there's not many in that field. That's not, I honestly say I thought about it, but I haven't gone. Why? I don't really
Hmm.
have a reason why. I think because I'm like, needles, because the minute you kept saying, yes, we could do the facials with, I'm like, that's what I wanted to ask you. You don't see the little holes after?
No,
You
no,
see,
no.
these are the things I'm thinking
Yeah,
about.
you
Like,
don't.
oh, might leave little holes on my face.
No, you wouldn't see the holes. No, it doesn't create a hole in the body. No.
Okay. I feel like I want to say, like, I'm trying to like look to my this is not a sponge. So I'm like, how is she doing this? But what is one thing you have to say to the black women to let them know, like, not to be fearful of this, and this is something that they should be more interested in stepping into?
I want to say to black women that you should try it,
Hmm.
because acupuncture is really powerful, and there's a lot of things that black women deal with that's not just on one level. You
Hmm.
know, a lot of the things that we deal with, and all women. So, but specifically that black women, we carry a lot of trauma in our body. We carry a lot of anxiety, a lot of hypervigilance. All those things affect our bodies. Fibroids is one of the things that affects black women more than anyone else, any other women group in the world. And part of that reason is fibroids energetically have a lot to do with repression, specifically anger.
Hmm.
All these things that we as women deal with, acupuncture is one of those ways that it could affect our emotional health, our spiritual health, our physical, and all our systems get affected by acupuncture. So it's one of the best holistic medicines out there.
Hmm.
And you know, acupuncture is like anything else. You just got to find someone that matches you. You know, I think a lot of times people don't want to do holistic health because they haven't found a practitioner that they like, and they kind of just, you have to find the right one. So if you meet one and it didn't really work out, don't give up.
Hmm.
Go out there and find somebody else. Because it's like, it's like having a good pair of shoes. You have to try a few until you find a company or a shoe style that you like.
Exactly.
So just keep going, because I feel like the people have a bad experience and they're like, oh my God, acupuncture is this and that. And I'm like, you just didn't find the right practitioner.
The second question:
Hmm.
how has your trauma benefited you now to where you are right now at
Oh my God.
41?
Yeah, I feel like all the traumatic things in my life I now look at as a blessing,
Hmm.
because I've been able to transition them into places of power. And I've also used those experiences to help other women. And I think for me, it created a deeper sense of empathy, a deeper sense of compassion, less judgment. People that victimize others are usually victimized themselves.
Hmm.
So it's this cycle of being the oppressor and the oppressee. It's a cycle that we see in all aspects of the planet in bigger ways, like Russia and Ukraine, right? That's a huge example of an oppressor and oppressee. And then we have slavery. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But then we also have that within ourselves, right? Where we, like you said earlier, have this guilt about feeling a certain way, and we have these emotions within us. And I think for me, taking that trauma and turning it into a macro situation and looking at the war and the trauma I have inside myself with my own thoughts and my own feelings about myself, that's where I started to do the healing, right? Because letting go of the guilt and forgiving myself and like letting go of the negative thoughts I had around that my sexual assault, where I was criticizing myself, judging myself, and then in that light, I was perpetuating the trauma every single day with those thought forms. So because of that trauma, I was able to be like, oh wait, this is how I think about myself in general. This was just an exaggeration of that, but I still have these negative thought forms. And so for me, those traumatic incidents, I wouldn't wish them on anyone, but at the same time, for me, they were totally transformative. Like I would never be the woman I am today if I didn't have those messed up things happen to me. Even my messed up, suicidal, crazy childhood, I wouldn't change.
And number 3, what is the word of inspiration, the sentence of inspiration you want to leave our listeners with today?
Be bold, be authentic, and love yourself unapologetically.
Wonderful. Be bold, be authentic, and love yourself apologetically. As you heard from Carine today, she had so much to unpack with the story that she shared. She went from being suicidal in her early teens, young 20s, correct? For quite some time, from being bullied, being a Black woman, sexual assault in her life, period issues, different parts of her life was just ripping her apart, but she didn't let that trauma take her down. And this is the message I try to always convey in every guest that I have. Don't let the shit that you go through in your life keep you down. You fall in the hole. I know it feels like you're digging, and the dirt just keeps on falling on you and you're not going to get out, but don't give up. You will get out. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Don't become a victim of your bullshit, because if we know better, we should do better. Trying to blame, my mom ain't do this, my dad ain't do this person do this, and this is the reason why. No. Find ways to get out of that negative talk. I love the fact that as a Black woman, you're living a holistic lifestyle. Granted, I'm a pescatarian. You're a vegan. You went from vegetarian to now full-blown vegan. Of course, I haven't crossed that path yet, but just all the holistic stuff that you're doing, these are things I would love to tap into, because I know as a Black woman, as you said, we pack a lot. We're told that we need to be strong at all times. Coming from a Black family, even something like this podcast that I'm doing, that is something you don't do. Your family shit is private. You don't talk about that. But if I don't talk about it, how do I release all this stuff that I'm holding and all this baggage that I'm carrying? So
right.
We appreciate you being a guest, educating us in everything that you've gone through. Carine's information will be available on the website when the episode posts. And as always, guys, I want to thank you for listening. And remember to love yourself, wish yourself, and be yourself. And until the next episode, have a great one. Thanks for tuning in to Fanpale Podcast. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, I want to hear from you. Head on over to the website or join our Facebook community and comment your favorite part of the show or share your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Chat with you next week.